All right, I have a new Substack essay out called On the Inevitable Secession of Texas. I was a bit shocked and surprised to hear Senator Ted Cruz the other day, or recently, talk about the possibility of a secession of Texas from the Union. And I thought about that for a second because I remembered that in my book, my 2019 book, Hypermodernity and the End of the World, I had identified a zone of discontent which I thought sounded to me an awful lot like rumblings of discontent that could inevitably one day lead to the balkanization of the Western United States, which I already knew was inevitable and will eventually happen. And this zone of discontent extends from Ruby Ridge in 1992 in northern Idaho down through Montana, where Ted Kaczynski was hurling his bombs, and also with the Freemen standoff there, and then down through the issue with the Bundys, Clive and Bundy, in southeastern Nevada. And then it follows a sort of line that goes down the Rockies and zigzags down over with Oklahoma City in 95, and then down to Waco, which had already taken place in 93. There's this zigzaggy zone of discontent there. I call it a zone of discontent. Such zones of discontent produce what the philosopher of history Arnold Toynbee calls internal proletariats, which are groups of disaffected individuals who are in a society but not of it. Another zone of discontent in the ancient world would be the northeastern shores of the Italian peninsula, which produced in 73 BC the Spartacus slave revolts that came out of that zone and went right down through the center of the Italian peninsula. And it went from 73 BC to 71 BC, but then it laid the seeds for the spread of Christianity as another internal proletariat, basically the sequel to the slave revolts, because Christianity was popular, as everyone knows, amongst slaves first, and then it gradually sifted its way up from below, from the rural population of fishermen and villagers, up into the dominant minority of the Roman. Eventually, Constantine, by the time of 330 AD, makes it a legally allowed religion of the Roman Empire. And by the end of that century, in 390, Theodosius the Great makes it the only legal religion. So it has come a long way over that time, from starting with these slave revolts as a disaffected internal proletariat coming out of what I call a zone of discontent, and then rising up all the way to become a new civilization, more or less. Now, I've identified this zone of discontent as it crosses over the Rockies and goes down into Texas. I already knew that sounded a lot to me, and I've been talking about this for years, that eventually the United States will balkanize and break apart, especially in the West, because the West has always been unstable. The Western states, California, as everyone knows, is both geologically and psychologically unstable. And there have been rumblings of secessionist discontent there in California as well, between Northern California and Southern California, just as there were rumblings of discontent in Colorado about, 5-6 years ago, with northern Colorado wanting to secede from southern Colorado. It's clear, you can see which way the weather vane is pointing, the signs are blowing. And so I won't say any more about the essay because I want you to subscribe to my Substack site. It's only $5 a month. It's very cheap. It's $80 for a 1-year subscription if you want it for the whole year. I also do private astrology readings. They are not free. If you're interested, hit me up at johndavidebert@gmail.com. And Patreon subscriptions are always welcome.